It's open.
Tonight's story is somewhat unique and calls for a different kind of introduction.
Police gone off! Today we are canceling the apocalypse!
Wait a minute. You ain't heard nothing yet.
And this is?
Lilu Dallas Multipass.
Frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn.
Houston, we have a problem.
Have you tried turning it off and on again?
Gentlemen, you can't fight in here. This is the war room.
Now, where was I?
Welcome to episode 126 of the Blokebusters podcast. I'm Paul, and today we're going to be talking about The Losers from 2010. And because he's the one that told me about it, kept asking about it, and made sure that I watched it, I figured I should have B-Rob back on to help me discuss it. How are you doing, sir?
I am doing very well, and you are officially a loser.
Hooray! It's the only real time you can be pleased to be called that, I think. Yeah, thank you very much for that. And yes, so let's get all the nitty-gritty stuff out of the way so we can jump right in. First and foremost, if you want to get a hold of us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, you can search Blokebusters. We also have a Patreon called Blokebusters, the Blokebusters podcast. Look for that, you'll find it. If you want to help us just keep the lights on here because they're dim, like we need to replace them at some point, but there you go. You know, but seriously, I'm not going to sit here and just ask you to please pull out all of your money and put it in. Just if you enjoy the show and you are having a spare $1 a month or something hanging around, if you would be so kind as to throw it our way, it would really help keep us going. Again, not trying to force you one way or another, just keep it in mind. If you get a little bonus from a certain agency that has given some money away recently, just saying. But yes, also you can check out our website, blokebusters.com. It looks somewhat snazzy. I do enjoy messing around with that, and you can see some of the honorary blokes from the podcast, and I believe, B-Rob, you are featured on that as well, so congratulations. On top of being a loser, you are also an honorary bloke, so there you go.
Did it.
And yes, after that, getting to the nuts and bolts of this film, directed by, and I'm going to take liberty here since he is French and guessing it is pronounced Sylvain White, and it is a budget of $25 million. And then, since this was in 2010, this film did have a box office. Can you remember those? They were fantastic. And this one made $29,863,840 US worldwide. So if you're looking at, generally the rule of thumb is whatever the budget is, you also double that for promotion and everything. So technically, this film did not make all of its production money back at the box office. So yeah,
it was a loser.
Yes, indeed, it was a box office flop. Technically, even though in terms of reported budget, it wasn't one of those weird things that people that really enjoy that sort of stuff love, and everyone else is like, I don't care. But there you go. So, I guess my first question then is, B-Rob, what is it about this film that made you really champion it when you were trying to get me to watch it? Obviously, you enjoyed it, but what was it about this film that made you say, I'm going to get him to watch it?
I forgot what we reviewed before, and certain elements of it reminded me of The Losers.
I think it was probably Scott Pilgrim.
Exactly, because Chris Evans is in it. That's the tie-in. That's the link. So we were talking about Scott Pilgrim and Chris Evans in there and how he portrayed that character in that film. And I was like, you should see The Losers. Because as you've seen with your own eyeballs, Chris Evans is just otherworldly when he's not Captain America.
Yeah, one of my main notes really is that Chris Evans is just phenomenal at doing comedy. Like he's got the timing down. Like pretty much any role I've seen of his which has any comedic elements, he knocked it out of the park. And going way back when he was in Not Another Teen Movie, and he was the handsome guy that was going to end up getting with the main protagonist, and he did really well at that sort of meta humor there. He was fantastic in Scott Pilgrim. He was brilliant in this, and obviously as Steve Rogers, he was just fantastic at that too. So yeah, the man can act, and the man is funny. So
yeah, he is.
So yeah, and probably at this point then should touch on the cast, because there's a lot of really good people in this. Yeah. So we've got, as we mentioned, Chris Evans is playing Captain Jake Jensen, who is the computer hacker. You've got Jeffrey Dean Morgan, Lieutenant Colonel Franklin Clay, and this film came out a year after Watchmen did. So he'd already played an anti-hero in that. So yeah, it's
this came out the same year as Scott Pilgrim.
It did?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Losers came out 2010.
Yeah, wow. I didn't even think about that, but yeah.
So he was working this back to back.
Yeah, he definitely was having fun, and at this point, thinking about it, yeah, he must have known that he was getting Captain America at that point. So yeah, wow. He this kind of does feel a little bit like he knew that going in there would be a lot of film, so he was like, I'm going to get this stuff out of the way. I'm gonna do my fun stuff, and then really into it.
And another weird film that a lot of people don't really talk about as well is kind of before Marvel really started to blow up, was a film called Push that he was in, to where it dealt with a whole bunch of superpowered individuals and everything like that. It was very comic book-esque. I don't know if it was based off one or whatnot, but that came out a year prior in 2009.
Yeah. Well, he has done. I mean, and obviously he was the Human Torch in 2 Fantastic Four films as well. So yeah, he's been in a lot of the sort of comic book stuff that, and I didn't really think about that. That interesting. All right,
it's just dawning on me.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, I'm definitely going to have to do a real deep dive into some of his back catalogue, because
I didn't know he was in Street Kings either with Keanu Reeves.
Oh, okay. No, yeah, did not know that.
He was the voice of Casey Jones in Ninja Turtles.
Apparently so.
No, I'm telling you, he is. I'm looking at it. This is crazy.
Yeah,
hold on, we're going to go down a rabbit hole. We got to continue.
Well, yes, I was also going to say that the film Knives Out, I really wanted to cover that with, but haven't yet put that on the podcast. Might need to figure out a way of doing that later. But
it's a good film.
Yes, it is. All right, jumping back to the Losers. So yes, Jeffrey Dean Morgan in it, and then also Idris Elba as Captain William Rourke, and Zoe Saldana, another Marvel alum there, as Aisha Al-Fadil. And then there's 4 other main people, lesser known to me anyway. Columbus Short as
he does a lot of urban cinema.
Yeah, as Sergeant Linwood Porteous, and then I'm going to butcher this last name, so I apologize in advance, but Oscar Yanada, possibly?
Because the J is usually an H.
Yeah, as Sergeant Carlos Cougar Alvarez, who doesn't say much.
No.
He's a fairly stoic individual. And then Jason Patrick as Max, and Holt Holt McCallany? That's a really weird last
McConnelly.
name.
McConnelly.
McCallany.
I know who you're talking about. I'm reading it too. Well, I'm looking at it, but you're reading it.
Yeah. And he is Wade Travis, who is Max's right-hand man. And yeah, so really this film kind of has some people who really like kicked off and became really big names. Obviously, you've got Chris Evans, Zoe Saldana, and Idris Elba, all of whom involved in Marvel and a bunch of other sightings as well. Idris Elba, for people that don't know and don't follow English shows, he is
very
the main
British.
character
Yes.
in Luther.
Yeah, Luther. That shit scared the hell out of me. 'Cause I did not know that he was English born and shit. So I thought he was doing an accent for Luther, and I was like, wait a minute.
Oh no,
That's where he from.
no, absolutely. He is an Englishman. He has just happened to do what a lot of English actors have done, which is come over to America, make things in America, and do things in an American accent so well that people don't know that they're not American.
Goddamn infiltrator.
And I got into a bit of a conversation with someone about that. Must have been about a year or so ago, and I believe the reason that so many English people are able to do convincing American accents and not the other way around is obviously in England we have a film industry and we have TV shows that are made and everything, but we import so much American stuff and we get so many American films and all of that we are definitely exposed to way more American accents and American actors than American people are typically exposed to English people and stuff like that. Like obviously you have PBS, which would grab the BBC shows, and more recently streaming services have opened that up to a lot more people, especially if you have Prime. Prime is very good at doing that, and Netflix as well. But yeah, until recently,
over the next decade or so, we're gonna have that crossover appeal to where you're gonna have a lot of American-born people going over to like Britain and all kind of other stuff, stealing your jobs.
I would literally pay to see that because like at this point there's not too many American people that I can point to and say, you know what, they do an okay English accent.
Oh yeah. Robert Downey Jr. did kind of okay, but it was just more him just mumbling rather than doing the accent.
Yeah. Like I'll tell you what. In Doolittle, he did a fantastic Welsh accent, despite the fact that the character he was portraying is not from Wales. So at the very least, he can do that.
It was not American, so there you go.
No, it was not. And his Sherlock was. I'll be honest, I don't know what his Sherlock was supposed to be.
I don't know what it was, but it fit the character well, and I enjoyed it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. But yes, obviously jumping back to the losers yet again. So, all right then. Overall, who would you say is your favorite character in the film, and not necessarily your favorite actor playing the character, just your favorite character?
Well, I'm gonna automatically discount Chris Evans because he doesn't count in the pool. No. But out of the cast that was given, I thoroughly enjoyed Max, the villain.
Interesting. Okay.
I even enjoyed his henchman too, his right hand man, Wade.
Yeah.
It's just the banter and everything, and then just like you knew he was the bad guy, but it was just like the way he conducted himself was just different.
It was. It absolutely was. And I do actually find it really interesting because I had a note down that I don't think I enjoyed the portrayal of Max. Now, the dialogue and everything that was written for him and all of that, like, he should have been my favorite character. Like, the way that the character was written is my kind of villain. Like, especially for a film like this. It is literally comic book-esque villainy in this thing. but I guess for some reason I just didn't enjoy what Jason Patric did with it. And I
get it.
I'm not sure. I think it might be that his face was just kind of bland. Like, he didn't really emote much. And I felt like the character, even though he was saying a lot of dry stuff, like, I feel like he should have had an expressive face.
Yeah, well, that's traits of a psychopath.
Yeah. True. Very true. He does do psychopath well, which we should probably be very worried.
Just even in that first instance when they introduced these two characters, Wade and Max, when they are walking on the beach and everything. Yeah. This is what I didn't understand, and it didn't hit me till today when I watched it right before we got on. I was sitting there with my wife watching the movie, and he had a lady shading him. She was walking next to him, holding an umbrella over his head, to keep him out of the sun because they're walking on the beach or whatever. Yeah. So I guess the wind blew and kind of knocked her back, so he was unshaded. She did not do her job for the briefest second because it was an accident. Wind kicked her up. It blew the umbrella and, whatever have you. So he asked for his henchman's gun and shot the lady. Okay, villainy at its finest. I can understand that. That's some top tier villain shit. But now you ain't got nobody to shade you, homeboy.
Nope. Yeah, and that's another thing as well. You can see there's almost a childish thing of it. It's like the immediate slight, and then he acts, and then no real thought for the consequence afterward. Probably because he's never had to deal with consequences, given the type of character he is, and clearly used to having the money to deal with anything. So yeah, that was probably the first natural consequences he's ever had to deal with. It's like, great, now I'm in the sun.
Exactly.
All right, okay.
Him and Wade, their relationship though, it almost seems like, because I know Wade mentioned him later on in the movie about it, having to kill his brother-in-law or some shit like that.
Yeah.
It's a similar relationship between these two. It feels like that to me, like there's some kind of relation to each other. Like that's his brother-in-law or something like that. That's kind of why, he just offed his freaking shaded lady, the umbrella lady, for no apparent reason. And this guy jacks up as well, and he just kind of, man, come on, player.
Yeah.
You got to do better next time.
Yeah, and it was interesting as well because I felt like I'd seen the person who played Wade before.
Oh, yeah.
And technically I have, because he was in Alien 3. And I've seen Alien 3. So I've definitely seen him before. It didn't really click, though, for me. It's a very odd, but I feel like I've seen him in a bunch of things before. And I went through his catalog of stuff, and turns out I haven't really, other than Alien. I've heard him in a few things.
He was in Justice League, the original cut. He was the bad guy at the very beginning that had all the freaking exposition and shit while he was detained by Batman.
Oh, really? Okay. I need to see that original cut then. I don't think I've seen that one.
You have not seen the original? I said Batman, right? Justice League. I mean.
Yeah. You said he was explaining how he was detained by Batman. The only other thing that I've seen that he was in is Fight Club.
Yeah, Fight Club, Jack Reacher. I remember him vaguely now that we just calling out movies, and I'm just kind of placing his face now.
Yeah, it definitely. I don't know if you've seen it. There was a film called I Know That Voice that was created by a voice actor called John DiMaggio, and the entire point of the film is going around and interviewing voice actors about the fact that everyone recognizes their voice, but no one has any idea what they look like.
Yeah.
And then there was another film that came out that, funnily enough, I can't remember the name of, and it was the same idea, but it's for all of the actors that get all the bit parts and get all the small parts in big films. So, everyone recognizes him, but they don't know where. And
well, shit. I just realized who he like. We talked about this not too long ago. Not me and you personally, but just in general conversation. The Tyson movie, the original one with Michael Jai White playing Mike Tyson. He, the guy that plays Wade, was in the Tyson movie, and I'm remembering him now.
Oh.
So that was way back in 1995, though.
Oh. I haven't seen that one, so okay.
So you need to know I have beef with that movie. Not with that particular movie, but a person. And his name is Jamie Foxx. Because we all know that Michael Jai White is one of my favorite martial artists and actors or action actors. He's one of my favorites. And he played that role of Mike Tyson in that 1995 biopic of Mike Tyson. Now, we have Jamie Foxx, who is trying to go back and play Mike Tyson and get the movie done again. And I was like, okay, you're taking away roles from one of my favorite actors. Also, Michael Jai White starred in a film called Spawn. He played the main character. Jamie Foxx is also trying to get a Spawn movie remade where he plays Spawn. What the fuck he got against my favorite actor? He need to stop trying to steal his roles.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah, apparently Jamie Foxx is like, I like what that guy did. I'm going to do that. very, very odd. All right, I feel like that's a conversation we can probably have on another podcast then. Like, hell, let's do
Punch Jamie Foxx in the balls
podcast. We can just do that, and you can have an entire segment where you just go off on Jamie Foxx.
I'll earmark it. I'll keep a day open for that.
Okay. All right. Okay. Yeah, as per usual, we tend to go off on these tangents,
I'm sorry.
which I really enjoy. I love it. But okay, so jumping back then for me to answer my own question, what was it, 20 minutes ago?
Yes.
But yeah, I think my favorite character in the film, it's very, very difficult for me to actually answer that one because I have sort of two favorite characters, and I can't really tell. I like them for different reasons because I really enjoyed the character of Franklin Clay. I thought that anytime you got to watch him, it was just really interesting to see him on screen and to see like the wheels turning as he's trying to work through everything that's going on. And for the almost the opposite reason, like William Roque, and I couldn't really disassociate seeing William Roque with just Idris Elba, because to be frank, Idris Elba is very much Idris Elba in every single film that he does. Yeah. Doesn't really matter what character he's playing, even though the characters can be vastly different. He's just Idris Elba doing the roles. But yeah, like watching his character throughout the film, and especially at the end, like I really liked that thing, and he got a fantastic bad CGI death.
Yes.
So yeah, and
that's what he meant when he said you're gonna die bad.
He did. Yes, not just that it's a bad way to die. It literally the CGI was bad. It's very meta. I like it. But yeah, I was actually gonna ask about that because this film is based on a comic book series called The Losers, and I have not read it myself, but I believe that they kept fairly true to the characters within the book, if not following the plot directly, based on what little I've managed to find out about it. But I felt that the slightly, as I said before, the comic booky villain, even though if you were trying to, say, do James Bond, it wouldn't work. It absolutely would not work having that villain in a James Bond film. It would be weird and not hit the tone. But this film, it worked well for the film. The bad CGI that almost looked like, and I don't know, because this was 2010, so obviously it was a $25 million budget. They didn't have huge amounts of money to spend on the CGI at the time, so they couldn't get the top shelf stuff there, but it almost felt like they were like, you know what, it's okay if it looks a little cheap, because it's a comic book film. And
I think they tried to make it, feel that way in certain aspects and whatnot, just like a lot of over the top camera cuts and, actually pausing and putting in some, comic book elements, like the panels and all kind of stuff. So it kind of lended itself to look more like a comic book than an action movie. Yeah,
and there are several shots and moments from here to there that you were like, okay, that's clearly taken directly from the comic book. And a few of the shots, such as Chris Evans when he does the, I have telekinesis and I will shoot you. And he ends up shooting the guard. And then you get that sort of grin over the shoulder, long zoom out to the group sniper, just kind of wink at the camera and straight back and say, okay, this film is aware enough of what it is that you're able to really get into it. Now, something I found a little interesting looking into it. So Zoe Saldana playing the main female lead in this, turns out she was actually required to gain weight because she was expected to carry weapons around for 8 hours a day.
Yeah. Huh.
Like, I'm not 100% sure how gaining a little bit of weight helps you carry weapons around.
I mean, muscle equals mass. So, if you put on a little muscle, you're going to gain weight. So, you're stronger by proxy as well. So,
yeah,
they wanted her to buff up so she won't be all dandelion in the wind and everything.
Yeah, it's not quite Halle Berry and Swordfish.
Well, seen some titties. We actually seen them. You got them teased in this one, but you saw them in that one.
True. But yeah, it's this thing where you don't often see that. Like, you see, especially with people like Christian Bale, where it's like, okay, they're going to gain 60 pounds for this role, and then they're going to lose 80 pounds for this next role and all of this. And, I think it's Edward Norton has come out and said he will never do that for a film because he has basically wrecked his body doing it. So like you see that, here and there. I'm not sure I've ever heard of an actress being required to put on weight.
Well, it's another instance to where that happened was the main character in the new Terminator movie, Dark Fate, the female Terminator or whatever. They required her to put on muscle, gain weight, as you say. So
right, and that's
they showed her on set, just doing pull-ups every 5 minutes and pulling, curling dumbbells and everything. And I was like, she really put herself through it. And that was a lot of argument for a lot of other people too, because the casting of Marvel and everything, and how we were talking about Brie Larson going on to be Captain Marvel and everything, and a lot of people want that lady from the new Terminator movie said that she would have been a better Captain Marvel.
Yeah, it's like obviously it's difficult to
in hindsight
really
gives you a lot of 2020.
Yeah, because we're now used to Brie Larson as Captain Marvel, so now to say this person would have done it, and I can definitely see what they're saying, just because she very similar, I would say in appearance, and
this one is more beefier.
Yeah, and I actually would argue, like, if they were looking for someone who looked as muscly as she did in Terminator to then portray Captain Marvel. My argument would be that she isn't supposed to be overly muscly. Yeah, I mean, she was a fighter pilot, and then was the warrior, as it were. But she had the actual energy powers.
I'm prior military, and I have not seen like a Jack Diesel flight pilot.
Yeah, that's so.
I mean, they're fit. They have something that's physically fit or whatever. But I never seen one like jacked to the gills and muscle on top of muscle or whatever, because you can't fit in the cockpit, homeboy.
Yeah, you're not going to see John Cena flying missions. I mean, you might, but then he probably would just be hunched over the controls.
And then it's a movie at that point too. So.
Yeah. But yeah, I find it interesting, and obviously she, in preparation for the role of Aisha, she did do the extensive weapons training and physical training and everything for it, and I would say it shows, because you can tell she's actively doing a lot of the stunts.
Yeah.
In the film.
I watched a little bit of that before I came in here as well. That was one of the bonus features on there. They got all of the weapons, because I actually have the DVD Blu-ray set. So they have a whole vignette on their weapons training for everybody. And then they have a segment specifically about her, because she's only, lead female in the cast. And, she has a background in dance, and a lot of the stunt choreographers and the weapons handlers liked her because she had that background, and it made her movements look a lot natural rather than a person that's just playing pretend and shit with weapons.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's always an issue in films like this, because, it's an action film, so it's always going to be slightly over the top, and you're going to get, for instance, like Tropic Thunder, where, that's where they take the piss out of that as well, where there's someone just standing there just firing weapons. It's like, you've never fired one of those in your life. You're just acting it out for the camera. And there's only so much that training will help you if you're just doing weapons training for a film. Like, if you're not actively firing weapons in all these different scenarios, you're not going to know how they react in all of those ways. And obviously having that dancing background, as you say, definitely would help in being able to move and knowing how your body would move and that type of thing. So, and especially with some of the stunts that she had to do, like it very worked out very well for her to add all of that extra training.
She did most of it herself.
Yeah. I mean, I would say there's not too many shots where you can't see her doing it. So, yeah, really well done. All right, so
what was that? And I think so. What I'm trying to see what came next or what came first, because all right, so Avatar was before The Losers, which is weird to think about. So I mean, I quite clearly remember going to see that one in the cinema. That was. All right, that's the one I was looking for, Colombiana. That was a very action-intense movie and everything, and I believe the work that she put in and probably The Losers more over Avatar kind of set her up for that role in Colombiana.
Yeah.
You ever seen Colombiana?
I'm trying to think if I've seen that one.
Well, is another recommendation.
All right, well, I'll tell you what, I will have a look at that after we're done here, and I will let you know if I have in fact seen that one or not.
Very well.
I'm gonna guess that one might have passed me by, but it's one of the things where it's like I might have seen it on a plane or something like that, and just not really focused too much on it. So I will get back to you on that one.
Very well.
All right. Now, yes, I obviously mentioned who was probably my least favorite character in this. Even if it was just, I guess I think I was looking for more out of the comic book villain of the film than than we got, even though he, in action, was very villainous. But how about you then? What character were you least interested in for this film?
I'm looking at him right now. And
you're not allowed to say Pooch's wife, since he's only in it for 30 seconds.
Well, I wouldn't say I didn't. I liked the casting here. I mean, there was nobody that really irritated me or whatever. But I will point out the one character that I felt so fucking bad for, and we had this conversation about other movies and everything, because I've been hopping on a lot of other I've been moonlighting on you, doing movie reviews in other places and whatnot, and this is one of the topics of conversation.
Right.
So people who get killed in these movies that have regular jobs.
Right.
So my person that got murdered for really like just doing this freaking job, the flight pilot in that bad CGI explosion.
Yeah.
He was just there. He was paid to come there and fly a plane. He was just there to do his job, and he got a daggone a motorcycle in his freaking grill piece for his troubles. You know?
Yeah. Yes, he did. That's a good point.
He wasn't trying to be a hero. He wasn't doing anything extra. He did nothing other than what he was told, and he died for it.
Yep. No, absolutely.
I mean, he did advise. The only thing he did advise against it because that's the captain in him, the safety aspect of it. He's like, go run him over. He's like, but we don't have enough room. Being logical in the situation. He's like, I don't care. Get room and turn around and do it. Yes, sir. And he was just doing his job, and he got killed for it.
He did. He did indeed. And on top of that as well, like genuinely thinking about it, given the amount of room there was between the airplane and Clay at the end there, Clay could have just easily walked to the side. Like, it wasn't going to get up to speed that much to actually run him over. Not that really
and another
matters.
thing that I'm thinking about it, we talking about senseless deaths and everything. The very beginning of the movie, the whole mission that got them fried in the first place.
Yeah.
So they go in there, they're gonna kill, lays the base and have it carpet bombed and everything. But they had civilian children there, so they advised against it, and they went in to save the children. Now Clay go in there, got the freaking drug lord in there, got a kid hostage, got him to relinquish his weapon. My issue is not with what Clay did, because he defended himself and protected the child. He did what he was supposed to do. But the drug lord, he was getting murdered because he stole money, which occupational hazard, right?
Yeah.
Why he just didn't tell Clay what the hell was going on? Then Clay would have realized that this what the fuck was up, and then they could have got out of there, and this could have been a whole different situation, But no, he wanted to pick up a knife, and from over 10 yards away, thought he was going to do something with it, and got murdered for his troubles.
Yeah.
Which he was going to die anyway if those kids wasn't there. So
yeah.
Which is another interesting point, because what old girl Zoe, she was going to kill him because he killed her father, but he was going to die anyway regardless if he didn't do it.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, like trying to follow it, I think she was under the assumption that her father died in the bombing.
Yeah.
Like, I think that was what the initial assumption was, and then when she found out that
he died in the bombing, and Max was the one that ordered the hit.
Yeah. And then when she found out that Clay was still alive, she might have thought, okay, what happened? And then found out more information and was trying to figure out, okay, like, what happened here? But yeah, that was something where it was like, okay, I get it, it's somebody
and then
killed.
she can't even really be mad at Clay, because I mean, it's his job, and you know who your father is and what he does. So I mean, I know it doesn't change the fact that that's your dad, but
yeah,
Your dad do some shady shit.
Yeah, no, absolutely, and it's interesting as well because I've tried to look up her character a little bit in the original stories in the comics, and it seems like they lightened her up a little bit for the film, which is interesting, because you can't actually say she's a light personality in the film, but based on what I could find, it seems that her entire MO is to leave 0 witnesses, and slightly less so in this film. But yeah, obviously they clearly were just like, okay, we're gonna make it almost a pseudo love interest. Like, not even. I never even really bought that that Jeffrey Dean Morgan's character was truly like into her.
It's
more
just
like they were just having
it was a
fun.
physical thing.
But,
It was just a physical thing or whatever. It's because like that's the vibe it was. Because I have been in a similar situation many eons ago, to where we was just in the room with each other, and that's what it was. It wasn't nothing beyond that.
Oh, there you go, folks. Confirmation that is exactly what was going on there. But yeah,
And then it was just like more of like she knew he was in charge, so it was more like of a control thing, just trying to keep him under the thumb.
Probably. But yeah, I genuinely enjoyed this film more than I thought I was going to, and I already thought I would enjoy it. Like, I figured going into it, based on what little I knew, you'd given me some information, but you hadn't really told me anything that would spoil anything or whatever. And then, like, kind of looking at the cast, and I didn't watch a trailer for it because
I don't even do that anymore.
yeah,
It's just
you just can't. You really can't. For instance, actually, to jump off, I ended up watching a film tonight with my wife and daughter, which is called 100% Wolf, which is
that sounds
a
interesting.
film, a kids animated film, actually out of New Zealand, and it's about a boy who is another in a long line of werewolves, and it's his turn to turn into a wolf for the first time, and he turns into a poodle.
Yeah.
and all of the shenanigans therein, and so on and so forth. But to try and convince my daughter that it was a good idea to watch the film, because my daughter happens to enjoy watching, as many parents have probably found out, the same things over and over.
Oh, yeah.
So rather than branching out, it's like, no, let's just watch this thing I've seen 20 times instead. But just putting the trailer on, that was enough to kind of get her interested in the fact that the boy turned into a poodle, and that was the end. But the trailer gave away many of the best jokes in the film, as well as many of the things that might have been more surprising if it was left out. And obviously it's a kids animated film, so there's not too many actual surprises in them, but yeah, it's a big gripe of mine on just trailers of all sorts of films, from kids film to full on blockbusters. They just can't not put too much in them.
I think the only trailer that I have watched as of recent, and I'm talking about the first time that they aired the trailer that I've watched, was the new Mortal Kombat and the Kong versus Godzilla, Godzilla versus King Kong or whatever. Those are the only two trailers that I have watched in recent time. I can't even tell you anything before that because I actively avoid the stuff. And especially because, we deal in social media because we have these podcasts and everything. Yep. There's spoilers all over the goddamn web. So anytime I see a still image or you scrolling and the video start automatically playing, I'm just like, no.
Yes, yes, la 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 la, keep scrolling.
Yeah, I don't want to. People start talking about it. I leave the room if I can. I try to change the subject. I don't want to know anything about anything. The only thing I want to know is the release date and where I can watch it. That's the only two things I need to know.
Yeah, the biggest problem I found is I haven't found somewhere that is just very good at saying, here are the films that are coming out with a very, like, a blurb about them and the release date. Like, I need to find that, because I don't want to find something that tells me everyone who's in it and, you know, a whole plot summary, because sometimes that, even just that, because I've seen enough of these films, like, sometimes even that is able to be like, oh, there's a twist. Oh, yeah. Great. Now I know that.
I don't even IMDb things anymore unless we're doing something like this. But, like, new things, no, I don't even do that.
Yeah, no, I never go on IMDb unless I've already seen the film and I'm just looking things up for it. Because it's not worth it. But yeah.
I just like to be genuinely surprised and shocked and everything. Just
yeah. I'll tell you, probably both the funniest and also the hardest I've ever physically tried to stop myself from being spoiled on something was I was going to see Infinity War, but I wasn't going to get to see it for about 5 days after it came out, something like that.
Yeah.
And I, at the time, was working in a elementary school, and I was working in a classroom with individuals with developmental disabilities, and so I would work with them in the room during the day, and then take them outside for recess or to lunch, depending on the day. And I was outside at recess, lining up with them, getting them to enjoy the outside for the small amount of time they were there. And it was the last recess of the day, and as I'm walking past this group of kids, two of them are talking, and one of them is listing characters from the MCU. And I put one finger in my ear, led the kid away, just came, la, 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 let's go over here. Try my hardest not to hear something. Now, it turns out that either the kid completely misunderstood the film or hadn't seen it yet, because the list they were giving didn't match perfectly with the outcome of Infinity War. So I think they might have just been saying, here's what I think, or here's what I thought was going to happen, and I happened to just miss the actual conversation.
I had Endgame spoiled for me on Facebook.
Oh no. And
it was further enough out or whatever to where I think I forgot it. But I mean, even what I did see, it didn't take away from the movie, but I kind of felt that's what was going to happen. Right. And it was blatant as fuck. And this is how they got me. They did it on purpose. You know how on Facebook you have the little GIF bubble, you know, the little circle in the middle that say GIF, and sometimes you got to press it to make the GIF load.
Yeah.
So it was one, and here I am, you goddamn women, you know, just giving in to my carnal urges and everything. It was a nice looking lady in the GIF bubble. So I pressed the GIF bubble, and I was like, oh, I wonder what this is. And it went from a attractive young lady to the scene of Robert Downey Jr. snapping his fingers with the Infinity Gauntlet.
Oh.
And I was like, you son of a bitch.
Sneaky fucker.
But it didn't spoil the movie so much for me, because it's just like, at that point in time, the movie, I don't think it even came out yet, because I went day one. And it was just like, this had to be some fanfic shit or whatever. You know how the internet is. So I kind of pushed it out of my mind as it being true. But sure enough, when I seen the movie, I was like, oh, it was true.
Wow.
So if I know the day of that I'm going to see something or I'm going to watch something, I try to stay away from social media, because some bastard.
Yeah.
Even right now, as we speak, it's almost close to the witching hour. You know, so I guess we need to speed through this. But King Kong vs. Godzilla is about to drop on HBO Max and in theaters or whatever. I doubt if anybody going out. But there's going to be spoilers here in the next 30 or so minutes.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I'm going to have to avoid it all day tomorrow until I can get to a place to where I can sit down and actually watch it.
Yeah. I mean, I do know, in case there are people out there that are unaware that this is an option, if you are trying to keep away from certain certain films or TV show spoilers or things like that, you can go into your Twitter and I believe Facebook as well, settings,
mute,
and block hashtags and block certain things. So you can set that up if you wish. However, obviously, depending on how many things there are and how long you want to do that, and if you know some of your friends are going to be talking about something, you're going to be missing some of their things. So yeah, it's not ideal.
Yeah.
But yes, just in case anyone didn't know, that is an option if you are willing to do so. But yeah, I try and watch something as soon as I possibly can. Jumping randomly to something. So I'm a big fan of watching the second campaign of Critical Role, which is still going. And it goes every Thursday with the exception of a few Thursdays a year. And I was in Florida in this last week, so I missed this Thursday. And it's like, even though I'm not actively following people that talk about it, just because I follow a couple of their things and I liked a couple of their stuff, like scrolling through Facebook or scrolling through Twitter, I see people talking about it. So it's like, damn you. The social media is definitely a double-edged sword in that regard.
It really is.
And once again, completely off topic, but yeah.
And I'm the one that recommended this movie. We talked about everything but this movie.
Yeah, I'll be honest. One of the best things I found having you on is that we are able to get into these complete tangents, and I love doing that. So yeah. Okay, all right. So, is there anything else really? Obviously, we talked about some of our favorite characters. We've obviously discussed Chris Evans is phenomenal, and some of the things that we were less enthusiastic about. Is there anything within the film itself that you really want to shine a spotlight on?
Chris Evans. That was about it.
Okay, fair enough. Absolutely fair enough. Yes, he's the entire reason you did in the first place. He's awesome.
That was honestly and for truly, that was it. And it's a fun movie. I mean, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it. Yeah. It's just like, it's not hard. I mean, other than the gripes I only did for show purposes.
Right.
It's a fun movie. I like it.
Yeah, definitely, as I said, more fun than I was anticipating going into it, even though I knew I would enjoy it, just because of the nature of the film. And I can see some people not liking it, but I feel like those people are the same people that, like, they have very specific things they want from their action films. Like, they want an Arnold Schwarzenegger type action film, or they want Die Hard, or something like that. Like, if you're willing to go into this film, just be like, look, this is just a group of
losers.
Yeah, a group of losers with vastly differing personalities that all are on play in this film, and they all get their time to shine. Then, like, you'll get it. It's the film for you. And if it's something where you're like, no, I just want one man fighting against an entire army and coming out completely unscathed on the other side, it isn't really for you.
Yeah. And another thing, I was like, this is the alternate universe for the kids in the new It films.
Okay.
That was my thing or whatever. This is the losers. That's what they called their group, the losers. So this is them grown up, busting ass and being mercenaries.
Interesting. Okay.
And just, I'm looking at the Rotten Tomatoes on this thing. It's like, it's 49% critic score and it's 54% audience score. So, I mean, it's a good movie. It just didn't do well at the box office, which, I mean, hell, that happens nowadays or whatever. I mean, Venom was way better than it had any business being, but it got killed at the box office. It might be better now, but at the time, it was poop.
Yeah, and I think this film possibly suffered from coming out before the MCU really kicked off. Because I feel like if someone had said, let's say in 2013, hey, we made this film, it's based on this comic book series, it's based on these characters, and it's a more stylized like type film like that, I think it would have done better. But it obviously came out before the comic book renaissance, so it kind of suffered.
And guess what? It was a DC property, so
yeah.
You know how they play on that camp.
Interesting about that, actually, because all of the DC films that have come out recently that have had the huge money towards it, and so many people go and see it that are technically box office successes, have been terrible. And then you've got this one, which next to no money was put behind it, relatively. Didn't do very well at the box office, but is genuinely enjoyable. So it's so strange how it just kind of doesn't work. And apparently there were people drawing comparisons between this and the A-Team.
Yeah, and I was that heavy vibes.
Yeah, I mean it's like, I get it. I mean, I didn't watch too much of the A-Team. I've seen the odd episode here and there.
And it came out the same year, so that's probably another reason.
Yeah, the thing I saw, it came out shortly after, so I'm assuming what happened was this film came out and then maybe a couple of weeks later the A-Team remake came out and people were like, well, let's go see that because we know that. That's definitely a more well-known title.
And I believe this is just a bad releasing thing, because I can't put my finger on it right now. It was another movie that was really good, but they released it in a shitty spot and it did bad, despite it being a good movie. And it was kind of the same similar situation where they had a group of people that had abilities, and then the next movie that came out that was more popular, it was a group of people that had abilities. I just can't recall the films at the time, but this has happened many times before. And we look at the Metacritic the Rotten Tomatoes for the A-Team film, which was a 49% critic score and a 66% audience score, which is lower, I believe, than The Losers. No, I lied. The Losers is lower.
I would say, yeah.
So The Losers did lose. I'm sorry. I recant that.
And again, it's interesting because I'll be honest, I never had any interest in watching the A-Team movie when that came out. And, I wasn't someone that grew up watching the A-Team, so not necessarily something that was aimed at me. But I saw a trailer for it, I saw the people that were in it and how they were portraying it, and my initial thought was just like, I don't see this doing well. Like, I don't get it. Whereas... I think I was drawn to it by name, but also I wanted to see Liam Neeson, what he was going to bring to that role. I was just like, because this looked awkward as hell. Right. I may not know too much about the A-Team, but I'm moderately confident that you don't want the leader of the A-Team to be portrayed by someone with Liam Neeson's accent, which means either you're going to have a very strange Hannibal, or Liam Neeson's is going to be doing an accent, which will be interesting.
Liam Neeson in this film sounded like Optimus Prime.
Oh dear.
I was like, I was just waiting for him to say Autobots roll out.
I will say then that if you want a film where Liam Neeson kind of sounds like Optimus Prime but done very well, then you absolutely need to see a film called A Monster Calls. Yeah. And if you have not seen that, then I thoroughly suggest you find it out and watch it because it is phenomenal.
Noted. I'm putting that down now.
All right. So yeah.
Wow. So 80 since I'm on Rotten Tomatoes, 86 freaking is certified fresh and an 81% audience score.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of weird. The two movies that I mentioned previous, they had a audience score of a 66 and a 54, but they had over 100,000 ratings. This one only has 25,000. So I mean, you get those low numbers. I mean, you have the opportunity to stay in the high thing. So I mean,
I mean,
shenanigans. It's politics. They playing with the numbers. God damn it.
Yeah, and it's also like.
Oh, he looked like Groot.
Yeah, it is an international film because it was made with a combination of companies from Spain, the UK, and the US.
I see.
However, I don't feel like it really got a big showing in the US. So yeah, it did do huge in the box office, but
hell nah, 2.2 million gross US.
Yeah.
Oh, because it did. I think it probably did a limited screening, didn't it? Or because it has streaming numbers on here too. It came out like 2 months later on a streaming platform.
Yeah, it did. It did a really limited rollout to begin with around Christmas time, and then a wider release at the beginning of the year. But then it just kind of went. It did really well in all of the film festivals and things like that. But then it just didn't translate to box office draw, and that's something you kind of find really.
Yeah,
just all of those because
you can't teach that.
It's just really well done. I mean, I can't say too much about it without giving something away.
Very well.
But yeah, the main character is fantastically played by Lewis McDougall. Liam Neeson is the monster in it, and surprisingly,
I got you.
Trying to get MCU Paul in here. Tom Holland was the stand-in for the monster for 1 week. Not sure why, but there you go.
He's just running up them credits, them accolades.
Yep. And Sigourney Weaver plays the main character's grandmother. And
that's her name, grandmother.
Yep, that's it.
Grandmother and mom and dad.
Yeah.
Mr. Clark, Harvey. It's just basic names. I'm looking at the IMDb.
Yeah, I mean, like they do have named. It's just in terms of credited. They're credited that way because the entire film is told from the point of view of the boy. No. So the idea is that to him that's who they are. So
Gotcha.
But yeah, definitely recommend that film. And to bring it back in, obviously we recommend watching The Losers if you haven't already by this point.
Because it's really not that much to it. I mean, it's just a fun little romp from beginning to end. It's just the comedy, the action. It's just there. Yeah,
including one or two fun little romps as well in the middle of it. So
a lot of romping.
Yes, not even in a rompous room, just going on there. But yeah, this film, as I have said several times, is way more enjoyable than I thought, and definitely something that I will recommend to people, much like you did, especially because of Chris Evans and Idris Elba and Jeffrey Dean Morgan. The man, probably at this point, most well known for portraying Megan.
John Winchester.
I mean, he should definitely be known for doing John Winchester, but unfortunately, probably most well known for doing Megan.
Yes.
Megan? I think it's Megan from The Walking Dead.
Oh, man. It brought tears to my eyes when he came back to do Supernatural. Oh, man. Oh, I was just like, that's freaking amazing. They brought the mom back too. His voice cracked a little bit. He got a tear in his eye. I was like, oh, no, don't do this to me. Don't do it to me.
Yeah, he's always been really good in the things that I've seen him in. So, yeah, I again, I'm going to have to go into his back catalogue and see if there's anything else that I can kind of just pull to watch from that. So, Negan, there we go. It wasn't Megan, it was Negan. That's what I was trying to say. But yeah, just solid character work, solid action, of the time and low budget CGI, but yeah, it works. It really does work for the film. And also, probably, I think my favorite moment with Chris Evans is the second credit scene, and I'm not even going to explain what that is.
Mm-hmm.
So anyone actually interested, you need to go see it.
Yeah, I meant to ask you if you watch those, but yeah, yeah. Oh,
Yeah, I actually almost used a GIF of that in the tweet I sent out. So yeah, again, I hardly recommend it. Go see it if you haven't already. Rewatch it.
It's on HBO Max.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, it is definitely available for those that wish to watch it. Also for people who are able to watch these things even without a subscription. At this point, it is coming up to 11 years old, so it is definitely available. So there is really no excuse for not being able to watch it.
Mm-hmm. Also, on a side note, when I say HBO Max, check with your internet provider. Because depending on who your internet provider is and the level of your internet package, you can get HBO Max for free, like I do.
Okay, I'm going to have to look into that then, because I used to have access to HBO Max, and then it went away a couple of years ago, but we have gone up a notch in internet since then, so I'm going to have to check in with that.
I just found out about it, just going through my bills, seeing where I can cut corners or even increase my internet speed. And I was just scrolling through the pamphlet, and there it was, HBO Max free with your service. I was like, what?
Okay.
And if you have Xfinity or Cox, I think those are in regional, it may be, you can get, I believe, either Paramount or Peacock for free with your select service. And if you have Verizon and you get a new Apple device or something like that, you can get your first year of Disney Plus and or Apple Plus or whatever the fuck, Apple TV Plus or whatever the fuck. You can get either one of those for free for a year.
Interesting. Okay.
Ain't no reason out there for you not to be watching movies, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So yeah, after all of that fantastic consumer advice, why don't we jump to then, where can people find you to get more said advice or anything else that you are doing?
If you have Xfinity or Cox cable, you can I might be free with your cable package.
You can find you on Peacock.
Yes, you can find me on the Peacock, that is. But if you can't find me on any of your streaming platforms, as of yet, because I'll get there eventually, you can find me on various social media platforms to include Twitter at 3R Show, Instagram at the 3R Show. And for anything else that I may have forgotten to mention, you can go to randomrob.com, because I am the host of the Random Rambles with Rob podcast, and that's where you find all the things and whatnot.
Indeed, yes. And yeah, do go visit. It is a nice little place, and definitely some very random podcasts you got going there. So,
yes.
Always a joy. And as I said at the beginning as well, with us, just search Blokebusters, you'll find us. Really, we're all over the place at this point. And as always, yes, thank you guys very much for listening in. It is wonderful to know that there are people out there listening. And thank you, B-Rob, for coming back on yet again. You're definitely a frequent flyer at this point.
Yeah, I'm trying to get that first class seat.
Yes, don't worry, that will be with you within the next 5 years.
Very well.
Maybe once you've worn out the one that I actually saw you posted a sped up video of you putting one together recently. Yes. So yes, once you've worn through that one, we will consider getting one sent out to you.
Very well. I'll I have a pin on it. I'll keep a note for it.
Okay. And yes, so with all of that being said, once again, I have been Paul.
I have been Rob.
And we'll see you next time. Bye.
Meow.
In case I don't see you, good afternoon, good evening, and good night.
Hang on a minute, lads. I've got a great idea.
Louis, I think this is the beginning of a beautiful friendship.
You're still here?
It's over. Go home. Go.